We have been started studying the problem of the redundancy in a database description and why decomposition is important and useful in a database. We will quickly revisit that and study this topic of database decomposition in details today. Let us take the old example which we took yesterday, the supplied by database scheme with the supplier name, supplier address, item and price. And we had two functional dependencies, one from supplier name to supplier address and another from supplier name and item to price, which meant that every supplier whose name is X has got a particular address. A supplier cannot have more than one address, and if a supplier supplies a particular item, the price must be fixed, that is, he cannot supply the item with different prices at different times. So based on this, we were trying to study what is the sort of redundancy that comes into the picture in this relational scheme representation. And we found out that this name and address, this dependency of name and address means that whenever the name is same, the address will be same. And suppose the supplier X supplies 20 items, then this address will be repeated 20 times. And it appears a bit redundant to have this information. So this redundant information causes several difficulties, and we studied them as the insert, delete and update problems. These are the three problems which will crop up, and if not done carefully, they may lead to corruption of the database. And in order to maintain these functional dependencies, a lot of checks will have to come up. For example, whenever you insert an item here, then you have to write, not only write this functional dependency will have to be checked. Secondly, if you start deleting all the items of a particular supplier, then either you will lose all the names, or all the name and the address, or if you want to keep the name and the address, you have to introduce null fields. If you do introduce null fields, then when you insert the first item, non-null item, maybe you will have to delete this null field. And when you update a particular address, you have to ensure that you update it in all the proper places, otherwise this functional dependency will get violated. In order to solve this problem, we found out that we will have to decompose the relation In order to decompose the relation, we found that there are several problems in arbitrary decomposition of a relation. In this particular case, we noted that we can do it well. We can solve the redundancy problem by breaking it up into two relation schemes. One is supplier name and supplier address, and the second is supplier name, item and price. Now this functional dependency will be checked on this relation, and this functional dependency will be checked on this relation. So given a set of functional dependencies on a relation, we can decompose it. For example, we could decompose it like this here. The advantage is the checking of functional dependencies is easier and less expensive, and there is less redundancy, and some of the anomalies which may arise due to insertion, deletion and updation may be avoided. But there are certain other extra things which you will have to do when you decompose. For example, if a query was on this relation was relating to address and item, then that in order to meet that query here, you will have to take a natural join of these two relations and then answer that query. You cannot answer it directly from the relation, any one of the relations. Therefore, if such queries are very common, then the efficiency may be hampered even if you decompose. It may be less efficient if you decompose and more efficient if you don't. Now, this is an optimization process and it involves many other factors, but presently we are just studying how to avoid the anomalies and how to prevent redundancy. So, we will say that we will decompose this into these two sub-schemas, and so these functional dependencies will be holding on these sub-schemas. Let us take another example. This is the other example which we saw yesterday, a loan scheme which has got customer name, branch name, loan number and amount. And we had two functional dependencies. The loan number fixes the amount and the customer name fixes the loan number. That is, if the customer name is same, the loan number must be same, which implies that a customer can take only one loan, but joint loans can be taken. There is no restriction to taking joint loans. And for any loan with a loan number, there is a fixed amount. Now, this one here again we have got redundancy in these for this functional dependency and redundancy in the case of this functional dependency. So, we could have broken this up into two schemas, L1 If we broke it up into these two schemas, then we will check this, the first functional dependency on L2 and the second one on L1. Suppose we had another additional functional dependency. Suppose we had another additional functional dependency here. Then this functional dependency is not easily checked by this decomposition rule, because in order to check this functional dependency on this decomposed relation scheme, we will have to take a natural join and then check it, because amount is here and branch name is here. Therefore, if three such functional dependencies were there, then the decomposition, this would not look like a good decomposition. A better decomposition would be would this be a better decomposition is the next question. If I decompose it into three relations, then now there is no redundancy anywhere. Firstly, there is no redundancy, because whenever I have customer name, I have only one loan number for a particular customer. For a particular loan, I have only one amount, and for a particular amount, I have only one branch. And secondly, all this functional dependency can be tested on A1, on A2. The second one can be tested on A1, and the third one can be tested on A3. So this is a better decomposition scheme than this one when we have 3 functional dependencies, whereas this one is sufficient if we have these 2 functional dependencies. However, if we have only these 2 functional dependencies, then looking at this one, since for every customer there can be only one loan number, do we face the question of redundancy here? We are not considering this functional dependency. So let us take this relation with these 2 functional dependencies, and this the decomposition. There is no redundancy in this one, but is there a redundancy in this one? There is definitely a redundancy here, because whenever I put in different branches where this customer in a different branch, if he has a loan, then I will have to put the same loan number. It just means that a customer, if he has a loan in a different branch, then also the loan number must be same as the loan number of the previous one. So this still has redundancy, and we could have broken this L1 up into 2 parts, one with CNAME and branch name and another with CNAME and loan number. So this one would effectively be 3 relations here. One is L11 with CNAME and loan number. The second is L12 with CNAME and branch name, and the third is the same L2. Number and amount. Now the problem of redundancy which still occurs here will not occur in this particular scenario. So these are some intuitive ideas about how we can decompose a relationship, and we will get back to what we have done just now to see what are the bad ways of decomposing a relationship. Let us revisit this example. We have seen in our previous discussion that we cannot arbitrarily break up a relation into any way at all. For example, here we have broken it up into 2 like this, but if we broke it up into X, which has got a supplier name, comma item, and Y, which had got, say, supplier address and price, then this would be a grossly incorrect way to decompose a relation, because any query which involves supplier name and supplier address, if we want to find out even the address of a particular supplier, we will not be able to get the correct address by a natural join of these 2 relationships. Here it is not difficult, because in this particular decomposed relationship, SNAME is the key. In this particular decomposed relationship, SNAME and item are the keys. And if we do a natural join of these 2, we are going to get back this relationship. But here, in these 2, none of them are keys, and there is no common attribute at all. Therefore, even if there was a common attribute item, even then you would not be able to get back a proper answer. For example, many suppliers may supply many items, and here also these items will be available from many addresses. So if you do a natural join from item to item, you can get any odd thing at all. You can get, suppose a supplier name has got Vimal is the name of a supplier who supplies item sugar, and this address B57 is the address of somebody who also supplies sugar, which may not be the address of Vimal. And if you do a natural join, you are going to get these two to be matched to each other, which will be something which does not occur in the original relation. So even if the relation has got some common attribute, it does not necessarily mean that when you take the natural join, you are going to get back the original relationship. The similar difficulties are present in this one. In this one or this one, if you take a natural join, you are going to get back the original relationship. But that is not going to happen in an arbitrary breakup. For example, if I put out the branch name here, then we are going to fall into some trouble. We have seen yesterday what we meant by a decomposition which will reach, whose natural join will give back the original relation, and that is what we said was a lossless decomposition. So we had a lossless decomposition is an absolutely necessary step to solve the decomposition issue. And we also discussed that there are three desirable properties of a decomposition. The first is the main item based on which database decomposition starts, which is reduction of redundancy. The second is a necessary criteria, the lossless join requirement, and the third is dependency preservation. Let us come back to what is dependency preservation. Let us look at this one. We have got loan scheme with customer name, branch name, loan number and amount, and we have got 1, 2 and 3 functional dependencies. If we decompose it into these two relations, then this dependency can be checked from L2, this one can be checked from L1, whereas the third one, to check it you have to take the natural join and then check it. On the other hand, in this decomposition, the first one will be checked on A2, the second one will be checked on A1, and the third one will be checked on A3. Therefore, it reduces the amount of natural joins which have to be taken to solve the integrity constraint checking problem, the checking of functional dependencies. But we have to remember always that if there is a query which asks for something between customer name and branch name, then we will have to take a natural join, and we will not be able to take a natural join between customer name and branch name only, and between A1 and A3 only. Suppose somebody asks, give me the branches where customer Ajay has taken a loan. Here I will just select out the branches from here, but in this particular case, to select out the branches, I cannot take a natural join of A1 and A3. That will give me a wrong result, because it will give me a Cartesian product. I will have to take a natural join of all three. But that is dependent on the queries, it is not dependent on the checking of functional dependencies. For checking of functional dependencies, this decomposition is fine. We are now discussing the decomposition based on the checking of functional dependencies. There is a concept called recomposition, in which you may join up two or more decomposed relations when you know that some queries based on that will be coming very, very frequently, at the risk or at the expense of checking of extra functional dependencies. That is an optimization which we, as we said, we will discuss later. We will now quickly see the formal definitions of a lossless join and a dependency preserving decomposition. the lossless join property of a decomposition. Let R equal to R1, R2 to Rn be a decomposition D. Then D is said to satisfy the lossless join property if for each relation with the relation scheme R, we have R is a natural join of its subschemas. R is equivalent to the natural join of the subschemas. You project out the R1 attributes by decomposition, you project out R2 attributes here, and you so on, you project out all the attributes Rn based on this decomposition that you have made, and take a natural join. You should get back the original relation. It is only then that this decomposition is said to satisfy the lossless join property. We have discussed it in details with all the examples which we have done. That is, when you break up a relation into 4 or 5 relations, then the natural join of these should give back the original relation. The next is the definition of dependency preservation. Let R equal to R1, R2 to Rn be a decomposition of R. Let F be the set of functional dependencies that hold on R. F is a set of functional dependencies that hold on R. What is F plus? F plus is the closure of F. That is, the closure is the set of all functional dependencies which are logically derivable from F. Now, take each Ri. For each Ri, some functional dependencies in F plus will be applicable. Among all the functional dependencies of F plus, some of them will be applicable on Ri. Which of them? Those which are related to the attributes of Ri only. They are the functional dependencies that hold on Ri. So let Fi be the set of functional dependencies in F plus that hold on Ri. This effectively means that in F plus, those functional dependencies of the form alpha to beta, such that alpha union beta is a subset of Ri. So let there be a functional dependency from alpha to beta in F plus. If the attributes alpha and beta, this is a set of attributes, this is another set of attributes. If the union of these two sets is a subset of Ri, then this functional dependency must hold on Ri. So let Fi be the set of functional dependencies in F plus that holds on Ri. Now you take all these Fi's together. The union of this must give me back F plus. If the union gives me back F plus, it means that I can individually check all these F1 on R1, I can check all the F2 on R2, all the F3 on R3, all the Fn on Rn, and I can say that I have checked all my functional dependencies. In the example which we took, particularly in this one, if we decompose like this based on these 3 functional dependencies, then this is not a dependency preserving one, because this amount to branch name is not there in, is not valid in any one of them. Whereas here all of them are applicable individually on some decomposed relation or the other. This is the meaning. So here only this one and this one is applicable, and it does not give back this one, which is, and this one is not derivable from any of these. So we must, this is not a dependency preserving decomposition, whereas this is a dependency preserving decomposition. So, the two properties are lossless join and dependency preservation. Now, which one will be called what is a good decomposition? That question we have tried to answer. One which is lossless join, which has got no redundancy and which is dependency preserving. The second is how do we obtain it? In order to study these two, we will first study from the beginning. We will study some things which are called normal forms. If you recollect, Codd introduced the relational database model. In fact, Codd has introduced many other important things in computer science, but he introduced this relational database model, and in this relational database model he introduced the concept of normal forms. So, it has got historical importance as well as importance in terms of what is a good decomposition. So, we will study these normal forms one by one and see what are the types of normal forms available. There are several normal forms: the first normal form, the second normal form, the third normal form, the fourth normal form, the fifth normal form, and there are normal forms in many other people's names like the Boyce-Codd normal form, etc. So, we will study some of them presently. What we will study are the following normal forms: the first normal form, the second normal form, the third normal form, and the Boyce-Codd normal form. And we will see how each of them tries to prevent redundancy. The objective of these normal forms is to prevent redundant to prevent redundant relation schemes. That is, relations, it tries to avoid the duplication and redundancy in a relation scheme, and they are graded. For example, those which are in the second normal form are usually in the first normal form. The ones which are in third normal form is in the second normal form. Those which are in the Boyce-Codd normal form are also in the third normal form. The first normal form. It says, in the first normal form, all attributes are simple. In fact, till now we have studied only simple attributes. Complex attributes are like the concept of a structure within a structure. For example, I could define a non-simple or a complex attribute like this. Since we have got tables, this is a structured representation of the attributes. We have got two major attributes, name and address, and each of them has got certain subtypes. Name has got title and first name, F name. Address has got city, street, city, state. Now this combination, which is the concept of a structure within a structure, nested definitions of attributes. This is not a simple relational scheme. These are useful because if you want to access only by name, then you will get it in, you will access the whole tuple. If you access only by name dot title, then you will access only this part. Maybe you will access address dot street, you will get this. If you access address as a whole, the whole tuple will come. In many places such definitions are allowed because it helps in tackling several queries much more easily. Find out those people who have got the same address, those people who live in the same street but in different cities. Funny things like this can also be there. But the first normal form says all attributes must be simple. And in this particular case, we would, in order to make it simple, we will have title, fname, street, city, and state. This is a flat with no nesting, and this is said to be in 1NF. The first normal form does not even check for functional dependencies. It says that it is in the first normal form. A relational scheme is in the first normal form if it is simple, if all attributes are simple. Anyway, till now we have discussed only simple ones, and it does not even consider the concept of a functional dependency. The second normal form, or the 2NF form. A relation R is in the second normal form if every non-prime attribute of R is fully functionally dependent on each relation key. We will see what this is because there are several terms here. A relation R is in the second normal form if every non-prime attribute of R is fully functionally dependent on each relation key. Let us take an example. Let us take a simplified loan scheme on a single branch, customer name, loan number, and amount. And let us have only this one, that a customer and loan number means the amount is fixed. This means that a person can take several loans, a customer can take several loans, but for a particular loan number and for a particular customer name, the amount must be fixed. Now here we will see what is the primary key or what is the candidate key. CNAME, comma loan number. This is a primary key of this relation scheme, because neither CNAME nor loan number is a primary key. A non-prime attribute. What is a non-prime attribute? An attribute which is not an element of any candidate key. All right. It is not an element of any candidate key. Here, amount. In this particular example, amount is the only one. And what do we mean by fully functionally dependent? When we say fully functionally dependent, we mean that alpha to beta is fully functionally dependent, means that you cannot remove any element from alpha, any attribute from alpha, and see that a subset of these attributes still implies beta. A subset of the attributes of alpha cannot imply beta. Then it is said to be fully functionally dependent. For example, here alone loan number does not imply amount, or alone customer name does not imply amount. Therefore, amount is fully functionally dependent on these two. Now, what does it say here? It says a relation R is in second normal form if every non-prime attribute of R is fully functionally dependent on each relation key. Each relation key means each candidate key. Here relation key means candidate key. That is, what are the candidate keys here? Only one. What is the non-prime attribute? Amount. And it is fully functionally dependent on amount. Therefore, this is in second normal form. Therefore, this is in second normal form. Let us take another example. This example is a list of courses, and it gives you the course number, the title of the course, the location where this course is going to be held, and the various timings in which the class hours say in which this course is going to be held. So, a course number 17461 title Programming Methodology and Data Structures, location room 108, time maybe the third slot, Wednesday W3, Wednesday third slot. The same course with the same title may be held in room number F133 on Thursday the 5th hour. This is the relation scheme, and we have got two functional dependencies. If the course number is same, the title must be same, and if the course number and time is same, the location must be same. These are the two functional dependencies which are quite natural. Now let us see how this stands. We have to identify several things to see whether it is in the second normal form. The first thing we have to identify, candidate keys. Here course number and time is a candidate key, because course number, time, take this attribute and take its closure, you will get title and location. You will get course number, time, and you will also get title and location. So if you take the closure of this attribute, you will get all the other attributes. So, and if you remove any one of them, you are not going to get back all the attributes in the closure, because course number alone will give you only title, and time alone will give you nothing else except time. Therefore, this is the only candidate key. There are no other candidate keys here. There are many super keys, but all super keys will contain these two itself. So, what are the non-prime attributes? The non-prime attributes are location and title. And what does second normal form say? Every non-prime attribute must be fully functionally dependent on each candidate key. There is only one candidate key here, so there is no problem. Lock is fully functionally dependent on course number and time. These non-prime attributes will be functionally dependent on the candidate keys, is obvious, because these are by definition the candidate keys. But this is not fully functionally dependent. Whereas title is not fully functionally dependent. Lock is fully functionally dependent, but title depends only on a subset. So this one is not fully, this non-prime attribute is not fully functionally dependent on some candidate key. Therefore, this relation is not in second normal form. I hope you have got the meaning of what is in second normal form and what is not in second normal form. If we broke this into two relation schemes, saying course number title and course number location and time, then each of them will be in second normal form. Therefore, second normal form does indicate some the presence of redundancy in your relation scheme. A relation which is not in second normal form definitely has got some redundancy available. And if a relation is in second normal form like this one, then there is no redundancy. The next question is, does the second normal form always prevent all sorts of redundancy? If a relation is in second normal form, does it mean that there is no redundancy? That is the next question. For that, we will take up another example. We have got a banker relationship, banker scheme, which has got the branch code, the customer name, and the agent of that bank. And there is only one agent. An agent can work in only one bank. In a particular bank, there may be many agents, but an agent can work in only one bank. And the second says that in a particular bank, a particular customer can have only one agent. There may be many agents in a bank, but one agent can work in only one bank. And an agent is like a person who sits down and gives you all this, these are the fixed deposits available, and he is like a middleman who will do all the jobs for you. And it also says that a customer in a particular branch can go to only one agent. He cannot go to all the 5-6 agents here. Now, what are the candidate keys? What are the candidate keys here? One candidate key is CNAME branch code. Any other candidate key? CNAME an agent. This is another candidate key. So, what is the non-prime attribute? Null. There is no non-prime attribute. Therefore, by default, it is in second normal form. By default, it is in second normal form, because second normal form says the non-prime attribute must be fully functionally dependent on something. But is there no redundancy here? Is there no redundancy here? Definitely there is a redundancy here, because whenever you repeat the agent name, a customer comes to this agent in this branch. All right. So, whenever you write down the same customer name, you will have to write down that, whenever you write down the agent name, you will have to write down the branch code. And many customers may come to this particular agent. Some 25 customers of this branch may come to this agent, and whenever you write down this agent, you will have to write down the branch code. Redundancy is obviously there. So, second normal form also cannot remove all sorts of redundancy. The other two are the more widely used normal forms, namely the Boyce-Codd normal form and the third normal form, and they are more widely used, and any relation which is in Boyce-Codd normal form is in third normal form, and any relation which is in third normal form is in second normal form. So they are more stringent conditions trying to prevent redundancy more and more compared to what first and second normal forms are, and we will see them in a later class.